Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you a deck I made for the new Holy Knight archetype that revolves around this, well, it doesn't really revolve around this specifically, just revolves around level 7 light dragons in general, and this is kind of the best one. In case you don't know what it does, the Holy Knight archetype, it turbos this card out, and what the card does is if it is normal special summon from the hand specifically, so which is why I run 3 of it, just for an immediate reason. You want to keep it in your hand as often as possible, just to special summon it. You can just pop a card on field, like just 3. And it cannot be destroyed by battle with a dark monster, and cannot be destroyed by the dark monster's effect. So it's kind of protected by a good few cards like Access Code, Dragoon, and other cards like that. And once per turn, at sort of damage step, if this card attacks an opponent's monster, banish that monster and then you can make a second attack. So it's kind of like Cyber's Quantum Dragon, where you can like remove the monster from the field and then attack again, except instead of just permanently removing it, this just banishes it until the end of the turn. So it's kind of like Farfa in a way, but it is still a very strong form of removal. Non-targeting banish, so in case they have like a negate or something, you don't really have to deal with it for your like main phase 2. So now that is one, that's just a quick overview of the deck. Just to turbo this card out, you run tons of spell cards. You run this card, which can just search it, and if your opponent controls the dark monster, you can summon it. Nativity, which when your opponent activates card effect, you can summon it. This card right here, Holy Knight Advent, but it's just a spell speed 2 trap, just summon it for free. This card is able to, when your opponent activates, declares an attack, you can discard it, summon it, and this card, as a quick effect, you can tribute one light monster you control, summon it from your hand. All the time summon it from your hand, so it's important to see it in your hand as often as possible, so you want to run 3 of it. Next, this is the only card in the archetype that does not mention level 7 Light Dragon, and even so, it's probably the best one in the deck. Holy Knight Ryle. When this card is normal summoned, you can search a Holy Knight spell or trap card. So all of the Holy Knight spell or trap cards are really good. I'd say the worst one is probably Holy Knight Sky, although it does just grant you an extra normal summon, and you don't really need to summon that much in this deck, so just running one of it is fine in my opinion. But it can search cards like Bellfire, which is, as I said, just search for anything. Search Nativity, which is able to summon Seiyaru on your opponent's turn. It will search Blast, which is an Omni Negate. It's able to search Advent, which is just another card which can either recur your Seiyaru or you can summon it from your hand, which is just super strong. On top of this, Graveyard effect is pretty neat too, where it can banish to summon one from your graveyard. So in case you come to the point where you make like an item Masquerade or something, you can just use it to banish itself, and then you can summon another Holy Knight from your graveyard, so you have Masquerade fodder to go into like a Nightmare Unicorn or something on those lines, which is just super strong. So Triple Royale for sure, it just has so many good targets for it to search. 2 copies of Flamel. I was considering cutting it to 1. The only reason why I am not cutting it to 1 is because of this specific hand trap, Herald of the Armside, where it requires you to have other fairy monsters in your hand. And Graveyard effect isn't half bad either. The only reason I play it is because of this card. But just read it. Flamel, when your opponent's monster declares an attack, you can send it from your hand or field to graveyard and summon a level 7 Light Dragon from your hand. So the point of this is when your opponent tries to attack you, you can just discard it, summon the Seiyaru, pop a card like the card that's just attacking it, or if they're attacking with a low attack monster, you can pop another higher attack monster to control. It's just really cool. It's not that great in my opinion, it's just really slow. Well, the deck is really slow in total, but this is probably the slowest card out of all of them. And what does in Graveyard is able to bounce back your level 7 Light Dragon on the field. So the reason why that is very important is because with so many cards I can just summon it from the hand, it is important to be able to just recur it back to your hand. And sometimes if you're just running a low copy, a low amount of them, it can become a bit of a problem when you have lots of cards that you can just summon it from your hand, but you just don't have the card to summon it in the first place. So it just kind of helps in terms of unbreaking, being able to bounce into your hand. So 2 of that. 2 copies of Astel. Its graveyard effect is trash, but on field it's able to, as a quick effect, tribute one light monster you control and summon a light dragon. And that light monster can just tribute itself. So on a quick effect, being able to summon Seiyaru means it is an inherent Trident, which is really cool. And next up we run three copies of Holy Knight Bellfire. It's basically Rhoda for the deck, and you can search any Holy Knight monster or your big boy Seiyaru. And if you're going to control a Dark Monster, you can summon the Seiyaru from your hand. So you're inherently just summoning one from your deck, and it's able to pop a card, it's able to remove cards from the field, it's able to it has great protection too, because Dark is definitely the best attribute in the game. It just has a lot going for it, and being able to have that extra bit of consistency is important. The turn 1 is able to search Rael, which is able to set up negates or extra pops in the form of Advent. There's just so many good targets for this card to search. Rhoda is just as good as its targets, but regardless of the deck, you will always run 3 copies of a Rhoda. You just can't not run 3 copies of a Rhoda. Triple copies of Nativity. Nativity is kind of similar to Bellfire, where it can search the Light Fairies and it can only search the Light Dragon, and it doesn't even do that for free. You have to shuffle a Light Fairy in your hand into the deck to do that. The only thing that actually makes it arguably better than Bellfire is the fact that it is able to summon. It has an in-team way to summon the Seiyaru on your opponent's turn, so you don't have to necessarily depend on going second like Bellfire. And Nativity is just able to pop it on your opponent's turn. It can help disrupt plays if they're trying to get stuff going. It's a really strong card. The one copy of Holy Knight Sky. Sky is another super strong card. Able to well, it's not super strong, but it's very situational. You're not really summoning that much in this deck, and well, you're not summoning your Holy Knights in this deck, but it's just not. It's very underwhelming. All it gives you is just an extra normal summon, which is it's really meh unless you're splashing extra engines into it, and you don't really need that extra normal summon. It never comes up unless you want something like an Astal. It's really just a really situational search of Rael. Its only really good effect is when a Light Dragon is bounced to your hand. So if you bounce it off Flamel, Blast, or Advent, you're able to draw a card, and even that is just too slow in my opinion. So just one of it is still in testing, so we are just running extra copies of everything. The 2 copies of Holy Knight Blast. Blast is an Omni Negate by returning a Light Dragon you control to the hand. So once again, not only does it recur your Seiyaru, it's also able to negate an effect. And when the Seiyaru is in your hand, you're able to summon it off cards like Astel, your Nativity, or your Blast. So and one thing, none of Seiyaru's effects are hard with return. So if you're able to summon him multiple times in turn, you're able to pop multiple cards. So Holy Knight Blast definitely does help a ton in that. The reason why I'm not maxing out on it is because it's kind of useless unless you have a way to get Seiyaru on the field. So you'll usually search it off Rael if you have that extra space. Three copies of Holy Knight Advent. In my opinion, it's the best card. Not only does it summon the monster from your hand, it's also able to just bounce it back to your hand, and that is kind of what sells it to me. Being able to every turn just bounce it back to your hand and then summon it with other cards is just super strong. Triple copies of Herald of the Orange Light. This is basically Cyframe Gear Gamma, except you don't have to run Driver and you don't have the controls of your monsters. As long as you have the extra fairies in your hand, you are really good with it. The thing, the reason why we run the extra Flamel, there are extra copies of cards I don't want to run, but you do run them for Nativity and Herald, as they do require you to have fairies in your hand. So you can just run any of these. Herald of the Orange Light also works if you draw multiples of itself, so if you draw 2 of it, you can it's basically just a free monster negate regardless of the game state, which is just really good and why I chose it over the Gamma. Triple copies of Extravagance. You don't need the extra deck, so just draw 2 is great. Triple copies of Imperm, another great hand trap. You might switch this up for a Nibiru if you like. Nibiru is probably more impactful, but that is probably better off in the side because, Nibiru doesn't really do much against, say, Blind Second Zodiac or any control deck for the matter. Dogmatica is really high. It doesn't do anything against decks like Dinosaur, which is why I chose to go for Imperm over it, because Imperm is just a lot more impactful in my opinion. It's not a lot more impactful, but it's a lot less situational, which is really what matters. Um, Triple copies of Summon Limit. We're getting into the floodgates. Summon Limit, you don't summon any more than twice, so you might as well just run it. You're summoning on your opponent's turn mainly. Usually you are able to get 2 summons of Sayaru in your opponent's turn with a Holy Knight Blast, so that's like 3 interruptions in itself. But Summon Limit triples for sure. It just invalidates so many decks, including a good bunch of control decks. Triple copies of there can be only one. Peekaboo, it's you don't summon insects, so you don't really mind being locked into. You don't really mind being locked at dragons or fairies because you're really just gonna recur the Sayaru and then summon it. It can kind of conflict with extra cards like your rank 7 or your Holy Knight Sky, but it is just such a broken card. By the time your opponent outs it, they would have just wasted way too many resources. Triple copies of Gozen Match. It's basically Peekaboo of the current format. A lot of decks, they run the same typing, like they run all dragons, all dinos, all warriors, all spellcasters, all that stuff, but all of them are different attributes. Like for Dragon Link, they can't make Romulus if they're locked into dark monsters. They can make Thoratic Seal if they're locked into dark monsters. They cannot make Herald if they're locked into dark monsters. They can make Halqifibrax if they're locked into dark monsters. For dinos, pretty much every dino is of a different attribute. Oviraptor is dark. Giant Rex is earth, I believe. Venusaurus is fire. UCP is light. Animadornosaurus is also light, but that's a lot more situational. And Infernoble also, you can go into his soul because you're locked into light. You can go into Halqifibrax, you're locked into say fire. You can go into Aurorodon, into wind. There's just such a high amount of different attributes. It's just really difficult to play through Gozen Match in this current format. Very few decks can play through it. A few decks that I can think of the top of my mind are, say, Salamangreat. Like, that's probably the closest thing. Even Phantom Knights to some degree, and Zoodiac too. They can kind of play through Gozen. Well, not Zoodiac. Zoodiac can make Nickelodeon a Zeus, and that's literally their win con, so if you can make their win con, what's the use? Next, that's kind of our main deck. We're running a bunch of floodgates, a bunch of extra draw cards, a bunch of extra hand drops, and it is pretty consistent. You've got like 9 searchers and extravagance, which is super consistent. And I believe like 9 searchers and extravagance, you have like an 80-ish% chance of opening it, and 80% is really good, especially with the amount of floodgates you run. Next for the X deck, we run triple access code just to end games out of nowhere, triple unicorn just for the extra shuffle in case you're able to make IP, a triple Phoenix, it's just another interruption, triple IP, another interruption. The extra deck doesn't matter too much. I'm running a small rank 7 package in case I'm able to get double Sayaru on the field, kind of similar to when you get 2 Elfish Golden Lords on the field, you like make Aglusa Max or Libe or something on those lines. I run the one copy Flare Metal. It's really good in case you're not able to get lethal. Then you can go into Flare Metal and they can only activate 2 effects for the rest of the duel. Yeah, nice card. Like if you're only able to activate like 3 or 4 effects for the rest of the duel, what's the point of even playing Yu-Gi-Oh? Just being able to limit the amount of card effects your opponent you can even do is really strong. So the one copy Flare Metal. Think of this Big Eye, it's a +2, and it helps you link climb easier into cards like Phoenix, into an access code talker. Big Eye is just another really strong card, and that is the deck. I hope you enjoyed it. It's kind of slow, it's very underwhelming, but I believe with some extra cards of support, it might be good enough to maybe be a rogue or tier, say, 5, a tier 5 control deck. But for now it's really slow, but I do like the concept, and I do like its Christmas theme. So tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, I'd love to hear them. And before leaving, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, it really does help the channel. And I'll see ya. Goodbye.